Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gab Real Talk, Real Insight. Today, I am here with Peter Weedfald, and we will talk a little bit more afterwards. But we are here with the crew, Amita, Melissa, Esther, and our guest, Peter Weedfald, the author of the Green Rain Leadership. And before we dive into the conversation of how passion, creation, and kindness makes today leadership, I invite you to join us on our streamline on Facebook and put a like on that little button right there. And this show is produced for you to be with us on the set. So you can do that by putting your comment into the comment box, and we will share it with our guests and with the crew. So, but before that, I would like also to thank all our donors and our sponsor who make this show possible. So thank you to all of you. And now I would like to introduce you to Peter Weedfald. Thank you, Peter, to join us. You have written this book, who is an amazing book. I have been paging through it passionately.
Thank you. What a great honor.
And please, meaning it's an extraordinary story. You coming from, starting a very humble beginning, going doors to doors, and then becoming, a vice president of marketing, and then writing this book and being on the front stage in New York City. But what is the most important point inside this book that you would like to share with us today?
Well, first of all, I'm honored because there's so many great leaders out there, right, that have written great books and have done much greater things than myself, and I'm always lost in admiration. And I really believe in the dignity of knowledge. So I've listened, I've learned, I've articulated, I've navigated, and I think the most important point for me is if you're really serious about leadership, the first stage is you have to understand that risk never sleeps. Risk never sleeps. And if you think that risk never sleeps is the sort of the construct of this, then in a flinty spirit, you have to remember that great leaders have a rugged constitution, but they have boundless sensitivity. And, if you have a rugged constitution, but you don't have a caring, sharing, and giving heart for your customers, for your employees, for your partners, for the opportunity to stretch and exercise and articulate the growth of your company, then you'll probably wind up failing. And if you fail, it means that if you have products that you're selling, you may wind up with the largest museum of failed products on the planet. So really, risk never sleeps is really the core. And if you are enamored by that and you'd like to sort of own that position in place and time, then the rest of the navigation goes on for leadership. So I think that's the core of this publication, this tome called Green Rain Leadership.
Right. And before the crew comes in, because I know they are really excited to talk to you, but I would like to just share this little insert. To be clear, First Advantage and Security, you're winning and through smart, sound, and calculating logic. Logic is defined as logic, noun, logic, convincing forcefulness, inexorable truth, or persuasiveness. You have so many things in this book that talk about kindness and customer care, but I would like to invite the crew to join in and ask the questions.
Well, you've had an eclectic just life and career run. And I think what was resonating with me is how did all these sort of career paths and even the impetus of writing a book and even writing music and playing music, how has that sort of transpired? Has it all sort of been organic? Has some of it been deliberate, or a combination of both? So just curious, like sort of how you've sort of navigated your path, because you've done quite a bit of things and you continue to do that.
I think the most fortunate part to answer that question was in the old days when you were in sales. So when I came out of college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I wound up being in sales. And I didn't even understand what that meant. But what they did was they paid me a drawer, $1,000 a month back in the Stone Age, with no commissions, no expenses. So if I wanted to take a customer to lunch, I had to pay myself. And when they tell you you got to come in at 7:30 in the morning in New York City, you have to leave the office by 8, and you will return 6 o'clock at night. Okay, and when you return, there's 25 other salespeople, and at 6:30 that night, the sales manager goes around the room to 25 people. Now, I'm just out of college, and they go like this. They go, all right, Johnson, what did you sell today? Oh, I sold this, 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 and this. Okay, Weedfald, what did you sell? No, I didn't sell anything today. And you'd hear this cackling. Loser. Ha, what an idiot, from the other salespeople. Wow. Very competitive, a bunch of young stallions who are going to take over the world. So rejection, to your point, became the fabric of my life. I believe, and I might have mentioned in the book, I believe I've been rejected more than anyone else on this whole planet. And we don't teach rejection in school. We don't teach rejection with mommy and daddy. In fact, today there's so much lack of rejection. Everybody gets exactly what they want, that they don't have an opportunity to, build a foundation. So I'm blessed. And by the way, I was with that company, Linear Business Systems, for 10 years. As you moved up the ranks, you moved up the ranks, you were still on drawer versus commission. So now I have 5 people that reported to me, and I was a sales manager, but I still was drawer versus commission. So are they. The wipeout, you're going to love this, because you know about headhunting and
I do.
Getting people into very good companies. The turnover was 90% a year, and the company was proud of it.
Absolutely.
They would tell people, oh, we have 90% turnover of salespeople. So the answer to the question is, when you go out and you knock on a door and you're all by yourself, and you're supposed to have them open the door, find the decision maker, and then stand and deliver on your product, and you get rejected and they're like, I don't want your product. You knock on a door, and when they open it up a crack, they go, yes. Oh, is the person who makes decisions about typewriters here? Are you a salesman? Oh, yes, boom. So that rejection is delicious. And if you know how to articulate and steer around rejection, it becomes the fabric of what you become through your lifetime.
So Peter, Lanier is so interesting that was a job that you had, because that was one of the first jobs that I got from a headhunter when I graduated from college.
Wow.
And that is the toughest job. I ran for the hills. But again, I ran for the hills. You had to go in and sneak in and look at the copiers.
Yes.
But the part that you said that was so interesting is the competitive edge.
Oh my God.
So you're there in a bullpen, that they used to say, and that was my first job at Robert Half International as a headhunter. They would go at the end of the day and say, what did you bring in today? What jobs did you bring in? What are you doing in the recruiting? And you go out in sales and have to report out in a group. And that does give you the competitive edge. So that's really gives you that competitive edge in everything that you do. Did that carry with you in your, your career, that experience?
This is so wonderful. Everyone's asking me like I'm someone who's important here. So I appreciate very much.
Yeah, I want to hear about you.
But the answer to the question is fairly simple. If rejection is the fabric of your DNA, it's your creed, it's your benediction, because you live that all the time. And when you said you stood and delivered, like I said, in front of it, I'm being rejected by customers. I'm being rejected by the salespeople who are in the same building in the same company as me. What happens is you realize rejection is just an objection. And an objection is a request for more information.
Mhm.
If I ask you to do something and you don't do it, or I try to persuade you and you say no, that's my fault, not yours. And that's a philosophy. And too many people accept rejection. The last piece of that is I've always said, as part of the rejection, as part of the handling the objection, you have to earn the right to ask for the order. You can't just think, here, look at this, look at this, look at this, and now can you sign a sales order? So you must learn how to earn the right. Last data point on that subject. I say this all the time. Never let your heart battle your mind or you will lose.
So we have a comment, sorry, Peter, but
Whoops.
it's engagement with the public today.
Okay.
It's better.com CEO fire about 900 employees via Zoom. What's your thought on that kind of leadership role and skills? And thank you, Dr. Joan. Dr. Joan has been away, so she's not able to join us, but she's putting this comment, and how should the employee use that rejection to their benefit?
Yeah, so I think that is one of the most interesting. I think it was better.com,
Yes.
if I recall my muscle memory. And my job is not to ridicule. My job is not to presuppose what he did. I never make a decision about another man or woman's decision unless I am completely factual and I understand and I have
Good
the data.
policy.
So I will say that after watching it, as if it was a TV show,
Yep.
it was like a reality show. There's a multitude of things that that bothered me about it personally. And the first one is, I do believe that great leaders lead from behind, not from the front. I believe that you protect your people, you work with your people, you docent your people, you answer the questions your people have, and you show them the way, but you never get in their way. So the salespeople that have worked for me today, I call them our presidents, because they're the president and I'm just a guy in the back. I'm like the coach if you need my help. So when I saw that, we could stand and deliver for a week on all the various touch points, like doing that and announcing during the video. By the way, if you're watching this today, you're one of the unfortunate 900 that are gone. You stop right there. We could spend, seriously, we could spend hours ping-ponging that back and forth and saying, how could that possibly be? The only thing I would say is, after watching it, with all due respect to the CEO of that company, is where did you come up with that? Did you read that in a book somewhere? You know, the first most important part of leadership is dignity. The second most important part is trust. The third most important part is having a heart for the innocent and a heart for the powerful. And the fourth part is taking responsibility. And I have said this. You call up my company, call up everyone who's ever worked for me. Before I hire you, this is what I say, Esther. I say, Esther,
Yes.
let's be straight, okay? Your job when I hire you is to either get me fired or get me promoted. And I'm good with either one. If you're that good and your contributions are that important and I can't keep up with you and I'm in the way, I should go quietly into the night. That's a philosophy. I have never been fired in a company. And to be frank with you, I've been blessed, been promoted, because I hire heroes. So now let's go to phase 2 on that question. Did he hire heroes? Because if you hire thy hero, then you have a responsibility to lead them to success. If you hire non-heroes, then you have a responsibility to be ashamed that you hired someone that you knew couldn't do the job. Either way, I believe in leadership. It's in the book. You take responsibility for the people that you hire, because you just changed their lives. They could have worked for that company, this company. They could have started their own company. You have a very big responsibility to them. So if I ever lose somebody, and I have many, many war stories about saving people, I take it really hard to my heart and my mind. So that's the only comments I'll make without,
Yes.
I don't want to be pernicious or truculent to the CEO.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but I have to say that Jim Collins, in one of his books, Good to Great, says that a good leader realizes when someone is not a right fit for the organization, and having compassion to let them go so that they can be successful. Now, the format that it was done on a Zoom doesn't sound so compassionate.
Right.
And you're right. He may have hired, or she may have hired, I don't know who it is, the wrong people. But the format, the platform he used to execute that decision
That's
doesn't
wrong.
sound too
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah, I'd agree with
Too
you on
kind
that.
to
Yeah.
me.
So
Yeah.
someone is saying remarkable description of rejection. So just wanted to give you that, and also that that guy at that company was a cold-headed Grinch. So
Especially this time of year, right?
So,
Especially this time of year.
But what I am very interested for, especially for the young people out there, because, when I was in college, let's face it, I needed to go out and do some cold call sales.
Yeah.
And I didn't like all of it. But it is true that it does give you strength. That when you get that rejection over and over and over, you grow stronger. And instead of taking it as a rejection, you turn it into something that you can springboard to somewhere else, or to something else, or to that very creativity that you talk, where you can have that idea of a business, but then if you don't have that creativity and that moment to always move forward and being accepted to that rejection. So that's what I would like us to talk about, is the leadership today in corporate America, how different it is today. Is still a shark world out there, and what are the tips for the people out there?
Yeah, well, that's a really broad but very, very important. So I'll try to be pernickety about it and nail it back down. So I was listening with squinting ears. 2 data points. Gabby, don't get mad at me, but cold call, even when I was doing it, I called it a warm call, because cold call has a negative connotation to it. It's just like when you hear people say, I'm going to pitch you today. Don't ever say you're going to pitch me, because the first thing I do is I get my defense up right away.
Defensive about it.
Because when you talk to mommy or daddy, you don't say mommy and daddy, you say, can I have a cookie? You don't say, can I pitch you to have a cookie? So you didn't say that, I just said it. But
Right.
let me talk about that, because it's really important, especially for our youth, right?
Yes.
So I have a turn of phrase. I have a lot of different turns of phrases, so forgive me. But I believe that I mentioned earlier when we were off the air that the heart of success in leadership is creativity. And creativity has a lot of, under the ribs of the umbrella of creativity, there's a lot of different factions, right? But I do say in business, and I say it all the time, that here's the formula. Here's the young youths, here's the formula. Ready?
Listen.
Creativity plus relevancy equals 1, WON. Creativity plus relevancy equals 1, WON. And this is what it means. If I'm highly creative with you, but I'm not relevant, it's over. If I'm highly relevant, but I'm dry and I'm not creative, you move along and you say, listen, let me think about what you want to talk to me about today. So it's really the power of uniting creativity with relevancy, right?
Right.
And what that allows you to do is formulate how you're going to earn the right to ask for the order, how you're going to earn the right to build a business, how you're going to earn the right to hire people. So I'm a big believer in creativity. And I just going to go back to what you said, because it was very, very smart. The point about being out there and knocking on those doors was you started to blame other people when you didn't sell anything. You got to understand that how painful it was, right? Oh, here's the boss. No, how painful it was, right? So let me give you an example. There was a time I was with the company 3 years, and 3 months went by, and I was really doing well, and I didn't sell anything. So now I'm in the hole 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So now I own the company $3,000, right? So in that point in time, I was so destitute. My newborn child, Tara, had just arrived from my wife, Frances, and I had no way to make money. So I went to a church. Actually, it's the Bartholomew Church in New York City on Park Avenue, and I sat down to pray. And while I was praying, I didn't know what to do. I always pray for strength. I don't pray for money. I pray for strength, like we all do, right? And all of a sudden I said, wait, this is a big church. I wonder if they have an office. I got up out of the pew. I went all the way to the altar. I went up on the altar. I saw a door. I went down the door. Long story short, I sold a priest, Father Fox, 9 word processors over the next 3 months. And I was a hero in the company, and it totally propelled me
Wow.
again. So the point is, there are ways to do it. And it's very sad for me because no one is teaching our youth about how wonderful it is to be a leader, how wonderful it is to serve another. And when I say serve another, we're all living in what I'll call the backwards world of serving another. Now I go to a retail store and I have to fill up the wagon, go to the counter, take it out and put it in the electronic barcode, get out a bag, put it in myself, and leave the store.
You became an employee.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Without pay.
My wife's funny. If I'm with her, and I'm with her, she stops. I go, what are you doing? She goes, I'm taking my 5-minute break. And I will say to the employees, what's my discount? What's my discount?
Right.
We're
So,
doing the self-checkout.
so you have to know, in this whole new world order, we're desensitizing leadership. We're desensitizing serving another.
Mhm.
And then that will spread to serving another in charity, serving another through church work, serving another through helping them to be successful in business and life.
We have a question from one of our viewers. Do you feel the art of selling is different in this time today?
Yeah, actually, no, I don't.
Oh,
But I would. It's a great question. I want to define something for
Okay.
you. This is, I think, a very important point. Thank you very, very much. I'd like to talk to that person. Very kind question. So it's important that people understand on selling that selling and marketing are exactly the same.
mhm.
I have watched companies who have leaders who have never been in both sales and marketing separate their sales and marketing teams. And I'm going to prove on air once and for all that sales and marketing are the exact same discipline. I can do it in less than a minute. You ready?
Yes,
Ready.
let's hear it. We're
Okay.
ready because people really say that's a big
Yes.
difference.
There
and
is
they
not a
define
big
it very
difference.
separately in a lot
Because
of
they
corporations.
don't know.
I agree. I think it's the
Right.
same as well.
Thank
so
you.
let's
For,
hear it.
see, okay. So if you talk to a sales pro who's been selling for 30 years, you go, what do you know about marketing? I don't know anything about. I'm in sales. You ask a marketing person, do you know how to sell? What are you talking about? I'm in marketing. So here's how it works. Ready? This is an easy metaphor. So Esther gives me 1 hour to come in and meet with her to sell my book. 1 hour. So I go in and I have to get her attention, interest, conviction, desire, and close her in that hour for her to buy the book, earn the right to exchange money for a book. That's 1 hour. But in the first 7 minutes, if I don't get her attention and interest, she goes, oh, I forgot I have another appointment.
Right. Can you play that trick, Esther?
Now watch marketing. Here's the marketing. Ready? TV commercial, 30 seconds. Right? You have 30 seconds to get my attention, interest,
right.
conviction, desire, and close me.
Same
If you
thing.
don't get my attention and interest, click, I change the channel.
Yes.
So really it's toolboxes,
Mhm.
Yes.
right? It's toolboxes. And if you think of it that way, and you can find a way to unite it. So everyone that works with me, and I've been doing this for decades, sales plus marketing equals one, WON.
Mhm.
If we're out selling and we're not marketing and bringing the power of marketing in our sales, we're going to lose. If we are out marketing, but we're not united with creativity and relevancy with our salespeople, we will wind up having the largest museum of failed products.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. We talked a lot about creativity and leadership, but how about in marketing? With the way things are going today, you see so many different ways that people are marketing. Do you think being too creative in marketing is good for particular corporations? And what do you see as being the trend? Because I see all kinds of creative marketing campaigns and a lot of people doing different things a lot of way with the pandemic. Where do you see that going? And do you think that that's relevant and that's the right strategy?
You know, I really appreciate it. It's a big question too, but
Yeah.
but it's a great question. So first of all, I don't call CMOs anymore, Chief Marketing Officers. I call a CMO Chief Metric Officer.
Okay. Yeah.
Metric because it's all about measurement these days. In the old days, we had 5 places we could advertise: TV, radio, billboards, magazines, and newspapers. Today, you have to understand, we're all publishers.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
There's so much information out there. And I will say this to you. 2 things about that. Number one, we're measuring advertising success the wrong way. I talk to ad agencies all the time and they say, well, let me tell you what your return on investment was. And this is what it sounds like. So you spend $50,000, okay? You sold $100,000 in product and they're all applauding. congratulations. And I go, what do you mean? You think I got the products for free? Do you think there is no cost of those products? The packaging, the box, the engineering, the development, the
salesperson,
distribution, the sales commission?
employees.
For me to spend $50,000, okay, it's called GEMROA, not return on investment, ROI. GEMROA stands for gross margin return on advertising expense. And what that means is if my product, I make 10% on my product, make believe, it means that if I spend $50,000, I have to sell $500,000 in order to pay the $50,000 at a 10% net.
Right.
So that's not being really articulated that well. And number two, Jeff Bezos changed the world with Amazon on advertising and marketing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Indeed.
And I'll tell you
Yes, I
why.
agree with that 100%.
Because on TV, you see a brand ad for 30 seconds, and that's supposed to be still today. Oh, well, we're just trying to get people's interest. Well, you must have a lot of money to spend all that money on TV. But Jeff said, oh, no. You're going to have the product. You're going to have the reviews. You're going to have the speeds and feeds. There'll be videos on it, and you can buy it right now
And get it in 24
and get it in 24 hours.
That was amazing.
Right. So
Amazing customer service. I think that what we learned from
Right.
Amazon, it was really that customer service that you talked about, how to really care to your customer, and Amazon did that like over the head.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, but
but go ahead.
he did it in such a way that I'm surprised that CMOs, chief metric officers around the country and around the world, haven't called foul yet.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what foul means, right? There are 700 TV stations, and this is what it sounds like. Channel 2, hi, yeah, we have a total audience of $33 million, 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. You should advertise with us. ESPN, well, we have 7 flavors of ESPN. We have 27 million households at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Oh, here comes Channel 4. Channel 4, oh, we have a special 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights. That's 40 million. Stop right there. There's only 117 million households in America. And we've already clicked through just 3 stations, let alone we haven't talked about the internet, well, let alone we haven't talked about websites, let alone we haven't talked about email, let alone we didn't talk about you have a life and you do things like go out to dinner and spend time.
Or building a fireplace.
My point is the marketing and advertising people should stand up and say, we're not paying $60,000 for 30 seconds on TV.
Yeah.
That's only worth $3,000 based on the amount of people and what they're doing. And nobody has called it.
That's a
Yeah.
trend.
So Esther, we have our viewers out there. We have 2 questions, and then you can take your question. We have actually a marketing person saying creativity plus relevancy equal 1. That's the secret. It changed. That's the secret to my success in marketing
Good
and
for you.
advertising. It's got to. And it changed again. It was a question. It's got to matter, or who cares?
It has to matter, or who cares? It has to be
Yes.
relevant.
Right. So that's a statement. That's not a
It
question.
is
It's
a
a
sta-
statement.
So
Yeah.
our next question: what's your thought on social media and the role it plays in marketing and creativity and people's interests
And personal
yours.
brand.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. That's a really great question. And I've got, I don't know, 500,000 viewers that, I play around with. I always change it up, right? If I just wrote articles, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's articles, sometimes it's point of view, sometimes it's just a photo, and that builds an audience, right? But to that point, it's interesting to me. It's a really great question. It's interesting to me about what I call impressions, right? So a social network or a website will say, by the way, I'm going to charge you now $10,000 because you got 200,000 impressions. But nobody even looked at it.
Right.
So I'm paying you for the impressions without the clicks.
Right.
So first of all, I love CTR, right? Where I'll pay you for the click. I'm not going to pay you just to sit there and have you tell me what my numbers are. And too many times agencies or marketing people will say, look at how many impressions we got. That's why we spent the money.
Right.
And I look at it because I run sales and marketing going, well, that's interesting. How many people clicked? Well,
Right, the
1.5%. Great. Out of the 1.5%, how many purchased?
Yes.
Nobody.
But,
Right.
but I have
Then
to
how's that successful?
Right. Exactly.
I have to say, Peter, the marketing world has not changed so much, because if in the time when I used to do the newspapers and the billboards and all of that through the city when I have my office up north. I changed it now to social media, and I will hire a company, and I said to the company, okay, how much we're going to spend, how frequent it's going to be, how do we measure the ROI, how do we know how many people got involved, engaged, and how far did they go? They're like, oh, well, we'll get a report. And I say, yeah, but how do we track it that there is real results? And they don't have it. They don't know.
That's a great
So,
point.
Correct.
so I don't hire. I don't hire anymore because
Right.
they don't have the answers. And social media today has better reporting, and it's much more targeted. And a person that doesn't know how to have that answer shouldn't be in the marketing field at all.
Okay, that was so well said. I have to say it once and for all. Okay, you all know what CRM is. Let's connect. Let's connect that question to what I call CRM. And CRM, as you know, is called customer relationship management. It's a database. It's a data lake of data about your customers, right? And you start with nothing. This is Peter Weedfald. Okay, I'm Peter Weedfald. Oh, you work for Sharp Electronics. Yes, I do. You're in the home appliance business, right? Yeah. So refrigerators are important. We start to fill up the data lake with the information. Now there's something called SCRM. SCRM is an extension of CRM because what that does is it says we watch you on your social networks and where you're going and what you're doing. And we start to fill up your data lake because we know you like horse feathers. We know that you do this, you do that.
Yes.
Now, you ready? My supposition, my proposition to everybody is there is no such thing as CRM. CRM stands for consumers really matter. And if a consumer really matters, then you're creative and you're highly relevant to them. Now I have a quiz question for you. I've had how many banks that I've been in? I don't know how many retail stores I've purchased from in my life, how many cars I've purchased. It goes on and on and on and on. No one knows me. CRM is a $1 trillion business in America of companies that sell the services and the platforms, but no one knows me. I've never had Macy's or my bank or anyone contact me with any relevancy. Zero. They've never, no one's ever drilled down and said, hi, we noticed that you like this or that. It's always irrelevant to me. So the day that we really take advantage of the tools, the digital tools, so that I know everything about you, I know where you live, I know where you eat, I know your preferences, consumers want that. They don't want the nonsense. They're adverse, whether it's on social networks or whether it's on email or whether it's on a website. But if you're really relevant, and I'll give you permission to be really relevant with me, guess what'll happen? I'll have a propensity to lean in. I'll have a propensity to want to be with your brand. I'll have a propensity to buy from you. That's the conundrum. You know, even though the social networks say, okay, we can find people who are this age and people who, you know, like to play basketball and this, it's not enough. And I will say this is really important because you have a brand. We each have our own personal brand and you have your company brand, right? Okay. So brand is the refuge of the ignorant. So think of social networking. Think about all this. And let me explain what that means because it sounds pernicious. It sounds, you know, like, but I'm going to explain it to you, okay? Watch this move. You ready? I'm going to give you a choice right now. I'm going to fly you to Europe, okay? And I'm going to put
you got me at fly.
Yeah.
I got,
summer.
I'm not now, but
I got you a plane, okay? But before we put you on a plane, I'm going to give you a choice. Would you like me to put GE jets, General Electric GE jets on them, or would you like me to put poo-poo head jets? Which one would you choose? Which one? GE. Now, the reason you choose GE, with all due respect to you and everyone, is brand is the refuge of the ignorant. We have no idea about poo-poo engine. It might be,
It could be
50
cool.
times
I mean, it sounds
better.
pretty cool.
It might be safer.
And we just
It
don't
might
know
be
it.
more
No
expensive.
recognition,
Right.
brand
So
recognition.
when you think about social networking and playing, people are drawn to brands unnaturally. So that's the first issue when you start talking about social, right? If the people are not familiar with your brand, they're going to be probably averse to even want to click in with you, right? The remembrance is brand is a promise. And the promise is some form of service or support or product line. And the promise is also to be what? Creative and relevant to me.
But what's your take on artificial intelligence and with digital marketing? Like, because you could open your phone and all of a sudden you might be talking about something and boom, it's
And
like
it's there.
there's an ad for for that, or I'm being sent messages or advertising for things that it's just like, wow, I just did one search on that on the web and
Comes
boom,
right
now
up,
now
sure
it's on my
does.
phone. So I feel like there's like a balance in
There's
terms
some
of like,
balance.
And
because
that's-
you're owning
and-
your personal identity.
To
Right,
tag
giving
them
to
away
so
this,
easily
to
by
tag
searching.
to this is, would this help today's salesman, leadership, management, and so on to achieve a better outcome?
So first of all, that was wow, perfect tag. You two are bimodally aligned with each other. So on that point, there's a little angst in what you said, and there's also
Yes.
a little bit of amazement. So let's talk about the angst.
Yeah.
First of all, we all have heard something called cookies, right? When you go to a website,
Yes.
they say, will you accept the cookies, right? And you click yes or no. And if you say no, many times they won't let you look at the
No.
content. right?
Exactly. I'm like,
Okay.
no, darn.
But
No.
here's what's happened. There's been a backlash. There's been a backlash, and cookies has been announced to be gone. It was supposed to be gone January 1st. No company is allowed to do cookies anymore. And now they've extended it out a little bit further. But the difference now is the relationship that you have with the advertising and marketing that's been served to you. And I want to talk about AI real quick. AI is about sensitivity. So the first part of AI and the promise of AI is you come home, the house knows it's the winter. You had it in, since there's nobody in the house during the day, you don't want to have the temperature at 76 degrees and pay all that heat.
Right.
So as soon as you walk in, it turns on. It knows you're here. The second thing is that
Love it.
with AI, the refrigerator will be connected. I mean, this is the way it's going to be. It will be connected to your grocer that you choose. And when you're out of milk and eggs and everything else, they'll automatically send a message and say, hey, we're out of milk and we need to order it and deliver it to me. But going even further, the implications of AI in business is that we send service people out. Well, in the future, all the air conditioners and all the heating systems in our home will have AI sensitive sensors in it. So before they even come out, they'll know what the problem is and they'll come with the right part. Same with your washer, same with your dryer. So really there's two pieces. One is voice activation, which is very, very big. And my company, Sharp, works very closely with Amazon, ACK modules, and Alexa-enabled products. We have quite a few of them in the marketplace already. So that's one form of communications. The other form is the shock you go through when somebody continues to do what you're doing. This is a simple math. If I go to a Sweetwater music store and I leave and I go to USA Today, all of a sudden I see an ad for Sweetwater. Well, that's a whole big business, and that happens 24 hours a day. Because if you went that far, you went all the way into the sale, I went to Sweetwater, I looked at something, I left, whoa, come back, come back. So that, and this is really important for the youth that we're talking about here, is that the weapon to begin to earn the right is not to be a gadfly. A gadfly simply means I keep bothering you and bothering you. But if I'm relevant to you, then it's about consistency, frequency, size, color, location. Consistency, frequency, size, color, location. I want to consistently build a relationship with you. Sweetwater, music to buy, and I'm going to chase you around. That's today. In the future, you'll have a choice as to whether or not you want that to happen the same way we had it with cookies.
That's
Yes.
called geofencing.
Yes, and that's awesome. We can talk even more. I'm just picking up what is going on with our viewers out there. For the one that is asking for this recording, you can always go to Princeton TV website, so princetontv.org. You can see the rewatch of this show. You can also share it right now on Facebook with your friends. So if you're for the viewer right here that is asking me how to share this, you have two ways to do it: either going to the website and share it, or right now you have a little click button saying share on your Facebook, and you can share it with your friends. The other things here is the brand. If the brand is authentic, you will attract. It's a statement, I believe. Your brand is the promises are set up to an experience, and the brand has to feel full that at every touch point. So
Well said, well said.
very
But
well
I
said.
will add to that that brand is a metal, spelled METTLE, that must be shined and primed every single day. It is a responsibility as big as someone who is called a leader. You have to be on your game with your brand 24 hours a day. Think of Nike. Consistency, frequency, size, color. They're everywhere. You watch a sporting event, there's that swoop, there's that swoop,
Absolutely.
right? But the other part is when you talk about the brand promise and how important it is, you go to a store and there is a Nike t-shirt and there is a non-Nike t-shirt. You look at the back label and it says 100% peanut cotton made, let's say, United States. And you look at the other one that's not a Nike and it says the exact same thing. Fabrics feel exactly the same. But the Nike is $19.99 and the other brand, Champion or Under Armour, is only $14.99 or $12.99. But you lean in and spend $19.99. You want to know why? Because
The
Nike
brand.
sells the dream. They don't sell the product.
Right.
Never sell your product. Don't sell things. Sell the brand. Sell the ambience. Sell the dream. And so Nike sells a dream. I buy the Nike, okay, because I think I'm going to play basketball better. For $5 more, I'll be a better basketball player because of the dream. So I believe, like for example, I've said I don't sell the cold steel of a TV or the cold plastic of a TV. I sell the dream to make you. It's so beautiful, so ambient, so vibrant, to make you feel like when you're watching Pirates of the Penzance, you think you're on the ship. When you're watching a sporting event, I want to sell you the dream of feeling like you're on the field.
Peter, do you think that in this day and age, there's a blur between personal branding and corporate branding? I see a lot of people that really personally build their brand, and it's supposed to be a corporation or a nonprofit or something that's following it. Do you see that being successful, that someone's personally branding themselves to be able to advocate for either their corporation or their nonprofit or whatever it may be? I see a lot of blurred lines with what people are doing, and I'm just curious on your take and how to have a successful personal brand, what it takes, and kind of the steps to get there for the viewers.
That's a great question. And I would just say that it's about a philosophy. And it starts with the human being, because human beings are the ones that build companies and build opportunities, right, and growth.
Yep.
So the first philosophy you have to have is, are you attached and do you believe in the company you're working for and the brand? So I work for Sharp Electronics. I know the people there. I know the esprit de corps all the way back to Japan. I know their intentions. I know their products. I know how they treat customers. The esprit de corps of a brand called Sharp Electronics or Sharp Home Appliances is incredible. It is a brand that we shine every day. So I feel like for a philosophy, I have a responsibility to keep up with that. And I have a responsibility to make sure as I'm building my own personal brand, we build our own brands whether we like it or not, right? There's a big stage out there, and you're building it or you're debuilding it,
I
right?
agree.
So, but if you can get in lockstep and congeneer with the philosophy of someone who's paying you 8 to 10 hours a day to help them get to where they want to go, the sad part in retro to that is when you're working for a company that isn't on the game, that doesn't care about their employees, that doesn't care about their customers. And suddenly you're like, well, do I build my brand like that? And that's where it gets cut off. That's where you see people running away from companies and leaving.
To believe in the mission, really.
You got to believe in
wholeheartedly.
who you report to also, right? If the person you report to does not follow the philosophy of the
Right.
rest of the corporation,
Trust and respect that
but the
person.
corporation and the brand is very worthy, then you're like, well, I can't tell anyone that I don't like reporting to this person. I just have to find a new job, and you run away.
Right.
So there's a community here too, right? There's a community of people who work together. And I always say there's only 3 things I want to do in my business career when I'm not with my wonderful family, Francis and Tara and Jay and the rest of it, right? 3 things. Number 1, I want to make very, very good money for my family. I personally don't need another shower or another car or another toy. I'm okay, but I want my family to be taken care of. And then number two, I want to work somewhere where I want to go to work. I want to wake up and say, I can't wait to get to work today. I'm really energized. And number three, I want to build a team of people that are like-minded, that love coming to work and, ensure they make money. So this book, I just wanted to mention it real quick.
Absolutely.
Now actually published in Mandarin for the Chinese market, the Asian markets, and also in English. It's now published in 11 or 12 different countries. You can get the book in 11 or 12 different countries.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
great.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you. Well,
great work.
just so you know, I always donate any dollars, any pennies I make, it goes to a children's charity. I've been doing that for decades now. But I do want to mention what this is. That's all I want to do.
Absolutely.
Why is it called Green Rain Leadership?
Yes.
Especially for our youth to understand. What does that mean? Well, ready? Watch how we tie everything up, from the fabric of the heart to the mind to the soul to everything. Number one, the earth is green. Mother Earth is green. And we have a responsibility and we have a lot of power among human beings. We have emotional capital, we have human capital to take care of Mother Earth. It feeds us, it takes care of us. Number two, green means go. So you ever go to a stoplight and when it's red, you can't go. When it's amber, you have to have caution. When it's green, you go. So I like that. Number three, in our country at least, money is green. So green is earning, and earning the right to grow something, like you grow a plant for Mother Earth, or you grow a business. And what do you get for that? You get green seeds and green trees, and you get green money. And finally, the US government has said green is the most soothing color to the eye on any color of the spectrum. And one more finally, when movie stars and actors sit before they go on stage, they sit in a green room because it's very soothing.
Wow.
Reign, R-E-I-G-N. That's a really important word because it reminds us that nothing is forever. And there's been great kingdoms like the Roman Empire, if you will, and other empires and other presidents and other leaders and companies and CEOs. They have a certain reign, and it may not last forever. And be cognizant of it and be respectful of it and treat people with the kind of dignity that you would expect to get back. And finally, leadership is such a broad word, but I believe if you connect the values of Mother Earth and the values of ensuring other people are gainfully employed and are happy with their families because they're making money, you will have a much longer reign and you will draw people in like a magnet to the leadership as opposed to pushing them away from you.
Peter, I have a question. In the Forbes magazine, you said, "Are you a shepherd leader?"
Yes.
What does that mean?
So a shepherd leader for me is someone that, if you look at a flock of lamb, right? Lamb, like sheep or lamb, right? And there's a shepherd, right? And the shepherd leads them. If the shepherd beats them, beats the lamb or beats the sheep, they're going to run away. They're not going to stick around. They'd be out of their minds. So how do you magnetize those creatures, whether they're lambs or sheeps, whether they're employees, whether they're friends, whether they're family, to have them want to be with you, not to be the leader. No, not to be the leader, but to want to be in your sphere. So I think shepherd leadership for me is different than the cold steel of the P&L. The cold steel of the P&L is all about 10 digits, zero. I'm talking in your language, the fiduciary and pecuniary language of a big JP Morgan, which is where you came from, which is great. And so you gotta use your heart and your mind and your soul when you're transacting with human capital.
I have a quick question that's kind of funny and quirky, but what do you believe in the term in leadership? Fake it till you make it, or fake it till you become it? Do you believe that there's natural born leaders? Like they say, you're born to be a leader, that people are born to be in those leadership roles. And what do you think about those, TED Talk quotes it from a couple years ago, fake it till you become it type of thing?
It's hard for me because it's all about perspective, correct? So you're asking my perspective. My perspective is I don't know how I would be able to sit here with you and be so honored. I don't know how I could have written a book in my spare time, which is the hardest thing you could ever do is write a book, trust me. I don't know how I could keep up with the music and the creativity around it. I don't know how I could go to work every day and have a big title in a phenomenal company and not lose my footing because I'm too focused on relevancy or too focused on music or too focused on a book or too focused on children's charities. So my view is, from me, my perspective, I don't really know if that's true or not. I don't know if you can be born a leader. I just know one thing. If I didn't take the path that I took, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I was lost. I was a complete lost lamb. I came out of college. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And God blessed me and said, go do this. And I did it. And it was really hard. And I got the scars from it. And I don't know if that's true or not. I think we'd have to ask someone who profoundly protracts that position. Well, I've done nothing for it. I haven't earned the right to be here. I was born a leader. Well, great. I'd like to listen to how that happened.
And I'm curious, and how's that informed your own philosophy on leadership, especially in terms of helping raising women in their careers in corporate America? Because I feel like, over time, women are starting to get their footing. And how would you say you've been an ally to women in helping them thrive in their careers?
So I would say for women, and or we'll call it minorities, which is a whole big subject. I have never, ever understood any of that in my world, and I'll tell you why. So imagine now I spent 2.5 years knocking on doors, draw versus conversion. And they said, you've done a great job. You're making a lot of money. You now have 5 people reporting to you. You only have 3 because 2 left the company. You got to hire 2 new ones. There was nothing in my head about whether you were tall, short, woman, man, ugly, handsome. The only thing I cared about was, will you come in and be a hero for me? Will you go out and do what you have to do? And to answer your question more specifically on judgments, again, it composes me. It gives me pause as an ardent believer in human capital, that we can tell how tall you are. I can tell what your religion is, maybe. I can tell if you are a foreigner. I can tell if you're a minority. I can tell lots of things about you. You're fat, you're tall, you're short, you're beautiful, walking down the street. And we judge people on that. Shame on all of us. Here's what we ought to be doing. What you don't know when they walk down the street is their level of intelligence. What you don't know is their level of pain. What you don't know is the path they've walked on. What you don't know is how much they would love for somebody to help them and train them and lead them and teach them and get on the right track. And so for anyone to judge, it's hard for me to understand. I see all these women movements. I see it all the time, but I don't completely understand it because I have never been that way. I just don't even think about it. I'm just looking for winners, and I don't care if you're tall, short, doesn't matter. I just need people who want to go out and be successful.
That would
So
be nice
Peter,
if all the leaders were like that.
you are a very rare case.
Probably. That's what my wife tells me.
That's because I think still today, you not only have the competition from what is considered your leader, your manager, but you also have that competition from the people that are next to you doing the same job than you. So it's like, the question is this, is people like to be led, but often they don't have a good leader. Like I say, you are a unique person the way you are leading your group. And so what is the tip out there for the leaders and the people working for the leaders that they should implement today?
Well, I appreciate it. In my book, I actually say something very similar to that.
Right.
That sometimes you work for leaders who are, you want to be like them. You want to emulate them. You look at them. Again, you have to have the intense sobriety. You have to have the passion. And frankly, the sagacity, which is, we talked about the intelligence of walking down the street. You have to have the focus, but I want to be like that person. Don't leave that person. Don't stick with that person. Learn from them. Let them teach you. Let them motivate you.
But it's rare.
Well, right.
Yes.
Number one. But number two, those of you that work for someone who we're describing, that don't care about you, that may be prejudiced because you're tall or short, or you're a woman or a man or green or orange, it's ridiculous. You've got to look at that, and you've got to cut holes in your pockets and take that experience and drop it in your pocket and leave.
Mhm.
Let it fall right through your pocket
That's
and
right.
get restarted again. Because I have to tell you, it's really important to realize that use your gut. If your gut feeling tells you this person doesn't care about me, this person's not a great leader, this person doesn't have my personal interest, best interest. I'm a big believer that when you go home at night, you should have had a great day in where I work.
That's right.
Because if you go home, God forbid, and you fight with your husband or your wife or your child or even your dog because of something I did as a leader,
Correct.
I should be fired.
Mhm.
That's not the environment that
That's a
people
good
should live in.
philosophy. No, I
Right?
agree. You don't want to work in fear.
I-
Yeah, that's a great
So
philosophy.
I come from a long line of ministers. All my family's ministry, except for me. I'm in the ministry of serving people differently. And my dad used to say, may he rest in peace, he says, a leader is a great servant.
Mhm.
He listens to the need, finds the solution,
Mhm.
empowers those that need help.
Mhm.
The leader is not the one that has the name in the front. It's not about that. It's about what you're doing for someone else. And when you answer the need of others and when you help others, then they look to you to lead. So you shouldn't have to put on the title, I'm the leader. Yes, in a corporate company, in a business, yes, you have to put these titles. But at the end of the day, people will follow whoever can listen to the need, fix the situation, and direct people and empower them. That's the leader.
I either read your father's book or he read my book. That
He's
is,
passed away and much older.
You should
no,
write a
but
book.
that's the core, and I mentioned it earlier.
Maybe
Good
drip some
philosophy.
ideas.
You lead from behind. You lead
Yes.
from behind, right?
Yes.
You're not supposed to get the philosophy. By the way, sidebar, in our company, and I'm happy to say it because all my great team members at Sharp Electronics,
Mhm.
Sharp Home Appliances know this. We don't run around with titles. We don't
Right.
really care. We just want to go win together.
Mhm.
All right. So we are going to be, thank you so much, Peter, for the time that
Thank
you
you.
have spent with us. We are wrapping it up. If you want to learn more about the subject of Green Rain leadership, please go. You can find it to any library, even here downtown Princeton, but most
Amazon.
definitely on Amazon. We have not been able to answer every one question, but Peter will go back to all of your comments and will most definitely answer each and every one of you if we have missed your question. Before we go to the event, again, I want to thank you because without you, the viewers, and without our sponsors and our donors, this show is not produced. Princeton TV community is for the community. You are very welcome to go and visit the site, princetontv.org. And if you want to support and grow with us, please make a donation. And before we wrap it up, thank you to all my beautiful ladies because they are beautiful. And thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter, for being
Thank you.
here.
Thank
Thank you very
for
much.
being here.
Thank
Great
you,
show.
audience, too. Thank
We
you.
will see you next Thursday. We are going to do a segment for the community. The crew and myself have gone out and about in the community. We have filmed some of our great merchants into the area. It is all about the season of gift giving. We will talk about giving, love, and caring. So join us next Thursday at noon. And for the event,
Great. So just like Gabby said, this is a great time to get out and see wonderful festivities local here in Princeton and beyond. And we went to Palmer Square. There's the Christmas tree lighting, a lot of great things here. But we have the Grounds for Sculpture, which has a beautiful display of lights called Night Forms. And what's great about that is it's at night. It's going on from November 27th till February. You can bring the whole family. But what they're doing is they are giving tickets to local charities so that the family and the clients of local charities can go and don't have to pay for it. So I just thought
That's
that was a
great.
fabulous way for them to give
great.
back. And it's extravagant and beautiful. Haven't seen it yet, but it's on my bucket list for this season. So many great things in the area to take advantage of. And
Wonderful.
thank you, Grounds for Sculpture, for doing that for this community.
Wonderful.
very good. Thank you to all again. This was The Gab, Real Talk, Real Insight. I'm Gabby Johnson and my beautiful crew, Amita, Melissa, Esther, and our guest today, Peter. Thank you and
you,
all
Gabby.
the great
Thank you.
luck for
Thank
your publication. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.